Hello fellow Star Wars fans, my name is Starrapter and I'm so happy you could join me for another week where I talk about the latest in the Star Wars comics, novels, TV series, and more. This week we have 2 new comics to talk about, so getting started with that. First off, we have the adaptation of Solo: A Star Wars Story. This is the 5th issue of the 7-issue run, and in this issue we have the Kessel Run in its entirety. We have Han and Lando getting off of Kessel. They go through the mall, they discover that creature, and they manage to get the Savarine. So everything in between those events is covered, and that to me is a strong point for this total series going forward, is how well they're able to tell the story because they have so much room to tell it, right? So they have 7 issues to really hone in on the dialogue and on the character development. You don't really feel like this is rushed, and it does feel like they are really able to translate, especially with the artwork by Will Sliney, and the overall dialogue is great. There wasn't a whole lot that was new that was explored at all. In fact, there was only one thing that I noticed that really did crack me up, is when they got struck by this lightning, everybody's hair stood up, and that included Chewbacca, who looked like some kind of a lion. That was really funny. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this overall mini series of the comic, the comic adaptation of Solo: A Star Wars Story. So I like how it ended off with Enfys Nest, and I'm looking forward to see how that all comes together in the end. Moving over to the next comic this week, we have Star Wars Adventures issue number 18. So as always, this is comprised of 2 different stories. We have Raiders of the Lost Gundark as well as Flight of the Falcon Part 5. So getting into Raiders of the Lost Gundark, we get some prequel love with Jar Jar Binks and Padme Amidala. This looks like it takes place a little bit after the events of the Phantom Menace, which is an era we don't really see too much of in between that and Attack of the Clones. We have Jar Jar, who is interrupting some kind of a meeting here, and we have Queen Amidala, and we have Jar Jar going on this mission. He has his treasure map. He says he needs to get this item, so they go. It's basically Raiders of the Lost Ark, obviously, Indiana Jones. They go on this journey. There's snakes. There's this lair that they go through. There's a Gundark, obviously, at the end. So it's a very fun adventure. Some things I took away from this story is, first off, the framing. The actual panel design is excellent. So they're running these serpent-type creatures, and they are the things that are actually splitting up the different progression of the panels through the story. So that was really neat. And they also do something very similar with this cave that they're crawling through. It reminds me of like a 2D platformer from the Super Nintendo. So they have these little like stalagmites and different things where they're crawling through from a side angle. That was really neat as well. I did like seeing Padme getting to use that weapon she used in the Phantom Menace that has a grappling hook attached to the blaster. She's able to get across the bridge there. So overall, it was really great. This one's written by Delilah S. Dawson, who wrote Phasma, as well as is writing the new story coming out called Black Spire, based on the new Disney World location for Star Wars, as well as Disneyland. So she's got her feet in the sandbox of Star Wars, and she always does a great job with portraying the characters. I thought Jar Jar Binks was hilarious, and Padme was the usual strong female character that we know her as. So overall, this is a great story. Moving on to Flight of the Falcon Part 5. I've really enjoyed this series between the books and with these stories in the Star Wars Adventures comics. This one is a very interesting one that I've always wanted to learn about ever since watching The Force Awakens. We learn about this character of Ducain who managed to steal the Millennium Falcon from Han Solo. So yeah, we learn all about this guy. He is this guy who's working in Takodana. He's at Maz's castle. He's just sweeping up the floors. He's their typical kind of run-of-the-mill employee, right? He's just trying to make a living in the galaxy. And, well, he gets word that Han Solo is needing some help on a mission. He volunteers. Han Solo, for whatever reason, leaves the Falcon unattended just by this guy. And the guy says, you know what, I'm going to take a chance, and I'm going to just take this thing and explore the galaxy and just take it from Han Solo. And that's what he does, and it seems like it's several years that go by, and he becomes a gun runner, a smuggler, and he makes a name for himself. Next thing you know, he gets involved with the First Order, and at that point he says, you know what, I think this is life. I'm going to have to cut it short. I'm actually feeling kind of bad. I'm going to have to deliver this thing back to Han Solo. And, well, we know that that doesn't happen because the Irvin boys steal it from him, and we have the character of Unkar Plutt who takes it from them, and then we have Rey, and we have to go back to Hondo Anaka. And yeah, so basically we learn at the end of this issue that we have the character of Bazine Natal who's interviewing him, and she finds out from Lady Proxima that indeed Hondo Anaka has it on Batuu, and that's where we will end up with that single issue Flight of the Falcon Star Wars Adventures comic, hopefully coming out next week, if not the week after. So I really did enjoy Flight of the Falcon Part 5. I enjoyed the character of Ducain. This is a very honest character. I could see anybody kind of reacting to the situation where if you have this thing that's of great value just given to you pretty much, would you take advantage of it to get out of your station in life and actually make a name for yourself? So I really applaud the character. Plus, by the end of this issue, he said he's going to join the Resistance. So I would love to see this Nikto character show up in Resistance or in episode 9. I doubt it, but it'll be interesting to see if that does come to play, if he appears in other Star Wars mediums for sure. Something I did not expect, and that's for sure, is the Battlefront 2 tie-ins with this character of Ducain. So first off, one of the missions he's doing is for a very mysterious source, so we kind of know it's something to do with the First Order. And he has a mission going to Athula. So if you played the Battlefront 2, I forget what the name of the actual DLC was, but it involved Iden Versio and her daughter, and discovering this plot of the First Order, taking these kids from the from a planet and programming them as they were young. So they go to this planet of Athula, and that's where they're getting a lot of these kids, and that's apparently where he's doing the gun runs too. So very interesting stuff there. It looks like Vardos is a planet that he goes to meet this contact that finally reveals himself about the First Order. Now they are the rulers of the galaxy, so I guess at this point we are after The Force Awakens, and that's when he decides not to join the First Order, but instead go to the Resistance. So yes, we're getting a lot of that connective tissue that I love to see in the canon, everything tying up together nicely, and I cannot wait for the conclusion of Flight of the Falcon. And speaking of Resistance, let's talk about the episode that came out this week. It was Season 1, Episode 15, titled The Core Problem. In this episode, we had Poe Dameron uniting once again with Kaz, and they go on this mission to find out what is going on in this one sector of space where there's a lot of damaged planetoids and different things, which is obviously, as we know on the outside of this, it's Starkiller Base's test on all these different kind of things. And at the end of the episode, we find out that yeah, we have Poe Dameron who needs BB-8 because he's apparently going on a mission to Jakku tomorrow. So yes, this show is finally caught up to The Force Awakens. If you guys are on the fence about watching Star Wars Resistance, I would second guess your decision making, because this is where actually it's coming together and we are getting into The Force Awakens. Like, this story is actually mattering in the larger scale of things. I think we're going to see this start to transition for sure into the gap between episode 8 and episode 9. So if you want to get a jump on things to kind of figure out what the climate of this whole conflict is between the First Order and the Resistance, you guys should really check this show out. I know it's kind of geared toward kids, and that's what everybody's kind of holding back on, but just think beyond that, because there's deeper themes, there's different layers to these characters in the conflict of the First Order and the Resistance. So definitely don't sleep on this show and check it out. It's on Disney XD. Yeah, I have my review of this particular episode and all the rest of the episodes of this particular show on the channel right now, so make sure you check those out. Moving over to my question of the week, it comes to me from James M. the Crazy Gamer at Robin McCormick on Twitter. He asked me, what is your favorite Star Wars era and why? So I'm not going to talk about trilogies. This is an era, so this could be, you know, the Dark Times, or this could be the Clone Wars. I'm going to have to talk about, you didn't say Legends, so guess what? I'm talking about the Old Republic. This is one of the eras of Star Wars that I am the most passionate about. Stems from Knights of the Republic. I've talked about this game many times on the channel because it's that damn good, and it really shocked the heck out of me with the story and the overall feel of what the galaxy was like back then. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Game of Thrones, so anytime you have multiple scores of enemies and allies fighting against each other, like we had all these Sith and all these Jedi, I mean, can you just imagine how awesome that would look in live action? I'm just holding on hope that we get some of that coming to us soon. I mean, just this week there's a rumor for a Darth Bane TV series, and yeah, I think that would be a great thing to do. But yeah, the Old Republic, for me, it has to deal with that age-old conflict between the Jedi and the Sith, and what would happen if these two sects of the Force were in their prime. They had all their numbers. What are you going to see happen there? But the storytelling is so awesome. You got so many other characters, and the exploration of the Force, and a different travel through the galaxy. So yeah, as much as, you know, obviously we are all brought on to Star Wars through the original trilogy, and yeah, I love the original trilogy. Some exact locations in the eras I love are like Shadows of the Empire, and between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, things are super dark. We don't know what's happened to Han. We have all these bounty hunters running around trying to get the bounty. Yeah, there's lots of cool stuff there. There's been lots of awesome canon in the Dark Times. We had Lords of the Sith, Tarkin, Catalyst, Rebels, you name it. They've really fleshed out that whole era of Star Wars really well. And I am looking forward to that gap in between episodes 7 and 8. We've gotten a bunch of content like Last Shot, Aftermath. We have the upcoming Alphabet Squadron. We have Bloodline. So that era might actually rival that of the Old Republic once we find out more about these Knights of Ren characters, as well as what exactly happened with the turn of Kylo Ren and what is going on in the unknown regions with the Chiss Ascendancy and things we learned about in the Thrawn novels. So yeah, there's so much exciting stuff. If you guys want to get your questions into me, you can go on Twitter and tweet at me using hashtag Star Wars Weekly, and make sure you just ask me any Star Wars question. You can do the same thing too in YouTube, in the comment section below of this particular video, hashtag Star Wars Weekly. I want to hear your questions because I'm always very excited to answer them for you guys. So next week we can look forward to gaming. We have Battlefront 2. There is a brand new patch coming out. It's called The Chosen One. It's going to have Anakin Skywalker as a light side hero, plus some changes to the Clone Wars appearances. So I can't wait to show you guys what that is all about. We also have Dr. Aphra, issue number 29, phenomenal comic book series. Can't wait to see how that one continues. So that is going to do it for me, Starrapter. What'd you guys think of this week's comics? Let me know in the comment section below. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I do this every single week. Plus I talk about a lot of other Star Wars things, as well as video games and TV and everything else I try to cover in a pop culture type of vibe. So that's going to do it for me, Starrapter. Thank you guys so much for watching, and may the Force be with you always. Thanks for checking out the video. Please hit that thumbs up symbol. It helps me know that I'm making content that you guys enjoy. And if you enjoyed this video, I also include 2 videos down below you guys should check out. And please consider subscribing to this channel. It helps support me, and it notifies you guys of when I get new videos up on the channel. You can also contact me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Starrapter.